Everyday products are the ones that are the most copied, actually.
These are Louis Vuitton labels.
We printed a type of ink onto this box of medicine that's invisible to the naked eye.
Hello and thanks for joining us for this week's edition of France in Focus, coming to you from the Musée de la Contrefaçon. That's a museum here in Paris dedicated to the issue of faked goods. Let's go inside and take a look. Well, theft of intellectual property isn't just a French problem, although after the United States, French goods are the most faked in the world. And amongst the things most typically copied are luxury goods such as handbags, watches, but also football shirts, medicines, and much more besides. Last year, a total of 5 million counterfeit goods were seized by the authorities. Well, let's find out now what more is being done to tackle the problem.
In this incinerator, brand new products are being thrown away. 7.5 tons of merchandise reduced to ashes while closely guarded. Trainers, cigarettes, even medication, all of it counterfeit. This is the 6th destruction of fake and knockoff goods since the start of the year, and it certainly won't be the last.
There's counterfeiting in all sectors. Fake shoes especially is one of the pillars of organised crime. It's how they exert their power, and it's a never-ending battle.
Tracking down these fakes is the job of these men. Perfume bottles being sold in this market attract their attention, and they decide to investigate. The perfumes are being sold at attractive prices.
D'accord. Vous avez les factures justement
Les factures, c'est que de temps en temps ils m'en donnent, de temps en temps ils m'en donnent pas.
Vous achetez où?
J'achète à Aubervilliers.
À Aubervilliers.
The challenge for the customs officers is moving back up the production chain.
Eh ben, on va retourner à la brigade avec le monsieur et puis on va faire les vérifications du coup.
But first, they stop by the perfume seller's van, where the officers make another discovery.
Normal, c'est sur notre prix. D'accord. Bah, tout ça, c'en est aussi en fait.
Reculez. Les Yeezy Boost.
Ouais, mais attends, il y en a d'autres là-bas.
Ah, il y a même les petits sacs avec. Par contre, ils sont pas très solides. Hein.
Back at base, the count begins. The officers have intercepted 460 counterfeit items with a market value of €37,000. For the trader, the penalties can be severe, several thousand euros and up to 3 years in prison. If he doesn't have a prior record, he'll get away with a fine of about €100. Last year, 5.4 million items were seized this way on the street, and increasingly on the internet. 600,000 parcels arrive every day in the cargo terminal of Paris's Charles de Gaulle airport. 2 to 3% of the packages are then checked at the sorting centre when their appearance or origin raise suspicion. A computer then does a second check, cross-referencing the sender and the recipient's data. Suspicious packages end up behind this metal gate, a real Aladdin's cave of goods.
These are Louis Vuitton labels that are ready to be attached either to clothes or bags. This one is mainly leather goods, Vuitton bags and lots of different branded shoes.
The goods are detained until brand representatives are certain that they're fakes. They're then stored here until they can be destroyed.
These are packages from China. They're very small amounts. These packages are quite typical of e-commerce, when you buy all the trinkets you find on online sites and marketplaces. The people who order, or the senders, actually rely on volume and the thousands of packages that arrive to slip through the checks.
1.13 million packages were seized last year, but that's really a drop in the ocean. In France, nearly 30% of counterfeits now come from online shopping.
To find out more about the problem of counterfeiting here in France, I'm joined now by Delphine Sarfati-Sobrera, who is the head of France's General Manufacturers Union. Thank you very much for speaking to us.
Hello.
This isn't a new problem, is it, the problem of counterfeiting?
It goes right back to antiquity. At the Museum of Counterfeit Goods, we even have corks from Roman amphoras, which were found at the bottom of the sea by oceanographer Jacques Cousteau. And at the time, they were designed to trick consumers as to the origins of the wine or oil contained within.
What sorts of goods are most typically faked these days?
Widely used products are the most copied nowadays. Things like toothpaste, toiletries, shampoo, USB sticks, mobile phones. That's really the most copied merchandise. And obviously in everyday life we use far more toothbrushes, for example, than we do luxury goods.
And you have a few examples to show us.
Yes, so here, for instance, we have a tube of sun cream with high protection, factor 50. And when it's copied, you risk getting sunburn, because, as you can imagine, counterfeiters absolutely don't use the same components or follow the same rules. So the risk is for consumers, who can get sunstroke or skin damage. We also have other products. For example, if you take cosmetics, like this razor, this is the real one. And this one is fake. It's easy to be fooled because they're hard to tell apart. There's just a G instead of a C. It's very subtle.
Just looking around the museum, there are some examples of bags that look like they were made by one brand. In fact, the monogram is a little bit different. Where do you draw the line between something that is faked and something that is inspired by another product?
The product must be completely different to be classed as a new design in its own right. As soon as there's a risk of confusion for the average consumer, then there's a risk of counterfeiting. If, for example, within a product you simply copy a whole part of another product, then that's theft.
But let's face it, there are some business models, like fast fashion companies. Their entire business model is based on being inspired by, shall we say, what they see on the catwalks of major fashion houses.
Yes and no, because effectively they're fueled by trends, but we need to differentiate between taking inspiration from a trend, copying luxury products, and then products that are genuinely new designs. You need to know that all these fast fashion giants are often charged with making counterfeits. That's why some of them now have very advanced design departments, which wasn't the case maybe 15 years ago.
And it's ironic that we should be having this conversation in this building, because this building is actually a copy in itself, isn't it?
That's right. This building is in fact a copy of the back of the French presidential palace, the Élysée. It's ironic that this counterfeit museum is itself a stolen design.
Thank you very much indeed for speaking to us. Delphine Sarfati-Sobrera, thank you so much.
Thanks to you.
The techniques used to make and sell fake goods are becoming ever more sophisticated, so it stands to reason that companies need to do everything they can to stay one step ahead of the counterfeiters. Well, let's take a look now at some of the measures they're taking.
This piece of technical wizardry is leading the fight against counterfeiters. A scanner captures the biometric fingerprint of each label before sending it to a database, so these wine bottles can be traced at every step of the distribution chain.
We're
going to be using very advanced imaging and chemical techniques to make it almost impossible to counterfeit the product. But we need to make sure our clients won't have a hard time putting these methods into practice.
Companies are reluctant to reveal how they protect their own products. Despite our requests for an interview, none of them wish to speak. This company is helping them protect their goods from counterfeiters. Here, a special tool is used to determine whether or not this is an authentic copy of a piece of artwork.
The idea is to gather the artwork's ID. In this case, we have a copy of Monet's Impression Sunrise. Once it's been identified with this reader, we put it on top of the painting. We retrieve an image of it, and we're told if it's an authentic copy or not.
The pharmaceutical industry is always on the lookout for better ways to detect counterfeit products. At least 1 out of every 5 prescription drugs worldwide is a fake, a public health risk that even has knock-on effects for the global economy. It's a $200 billion industry, and the products are easy to find online.
We printed a type of ink onto this box of medicine that's invisible to the naked eye and ultraviolet light. It's only by using a particular type of light that we can see the ink. We then use a special reader to reveal a code.
What's more, consumers themselves can now get involved. Specialists here have even developed a smartphone application to let users know whether the product they want to buy is genuine or fake.
Well, as we've seen at the Museum of Counterfeiting here in Paris, there are so many incredible examples of fake goods, from contraceptives to healthcare products, pregnancy tests. But for me, the award winner is this: a fake World Cup trophy. Well, this is where we leave you. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned to France 24.